Because there are so many voices who tell you you should do this for a better life, you should do this for a better life.
Just that you should not feel obliged to follow something because the one who is giving that advice holds a certain authority. If parties do not come up with great manifestos, it is because we, the voters, are not yet ready for greatness. If we are parents, we should ask, I'm giving birth to this one. Have I given birth to myself?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pankaj Mishra and representing Daily Hunt. And trust me, I was lucky to be able to listen to this very constructive, fruitful conversation of our predecessors here. And Acharya Prashant ji has also, in a way, as they say, nailed the issue when it comes to very sensitive issues pertaining to mental health, pertaining to our own choices that we make maybe after the school and during the colleges. And this august presence of the alumni, the family members, young and old, all of them add strength and value to this interactive session here. Prashant ji, first of all, I was sitting in the audience when the last question, which was put to you pertaining to the upcoming elections, it elicited some smiles, some cheer, and maybe some sort of, ye kya pooch diya, sort of reaction from the public. I would like to continue from where my colleague left as of now, that in the political manifesto, do you believe that we as the citizens, parents, students, should also demand mental health as part of that manifesto? Is that possible ever in India?
See, it all depends on the quality of the electorate. What we demand depends on who we are, first thing. So first of all, we require to be educated enough and elevated enough to understand that the self is the center of all things.
Right.
Whether it is the leaders that we choose, or the polity that we produce, or the mind that we exhibit, or the economy that we run, everything depends on the quality of the self. And when the audience is educated in these matters, then the audience will force the parties to suitably elevate their election manifestos. We must remember that the election manifesto of a particular political party is not just a reflection of the particular party's ideology.
Okay.
It is more of a reflection of the audience, the electorate, to whom this manifesto is being served.
Right.
If I serve, as an example, if I serve a particularly illuminated manifesto to a very dark audience, how much support am I going to elicit? And how many votes am I going to garner? I serve you a great manifesto, let's say, and you are someone steeped in ignorance. Would you support me? Would you support me? So my manifesto does not just represent who I am. My manifesto represents who you are. If parties do not come up with great manifestos, it is because we, the voters, are not yet ready for greatness. And if we are ready for greatness, parties will be forced to come up with something more decent. First thing is education of the electorate.
Absolutely. These are the issues, as I mentioned earlier, Acharya Prashant, that your take on these very critical issues are, I would say personally, very direct, which is the need of the hour. And secondly, calling a spade, that India needs to be more educated to choose their leaders who are like them. In this regard, again, at the underbelly of the whole situation, कि ऐसा क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा है कि हम ही उतने जागरूक वोटर्स बन सकें जो कि उस तरह का चुनाव कर पाए. कहीं ना कहीं अगेन इट सर्कल्स बैक टू oneself and depression. Again, once again, I know that it has been talked a lot about quite recently, quite about it. I have some data here. It says close to 200 million Indians could benefit from mental health services. Fewer than 30 million seek care due to limited access and stigma. ये जो डाइकॉटमी अगर आती है, जो हमारी सोच पर भी असर डालती है, जो एक सोशल स्टिग्मा के तौर पर हमारे फेलियर्स को ले जाती है, कितना इंपॉर्टेंट है कि इसको स्पिरिचुअलिटी से हम जीत सकें.
The first and the most important line of defense against any mental disorder is spirituality itself. You could say spirituality is another name for mental health. Only when the mental disorder is due to a physical reason, something to do with the brain itself,
Right.
does spirituality turn ineffective.
Other course.
Then you cannot, if someone is not even in a position to clearly pay attention or to read or to listen, then obviously spiritual methods won't work.
Right.
But otherwise, to a person who is physically all right, spirituality is the code for mental health. And spirituality does not refer to religious mumbo jumbo. Spirituality is simply living with a particular attention, living in a way of self-remembrance, not just being chemically reactive. That is spirituality.
Right.
If you see, we run our online program on the various wisdom scriptures, including the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and a few other scriptures. And several thousands are participants in that program. And when they watch, it is not just they who are watching. Many a times it's their friends and family members who accompany them in front of the screen.
Right.
And we have dozens of testimonials every day where people talk of regaining, reclaiming their mental health.
Right. Right.
After coming to utterances that tell them of the truth. It is the falseness of the world and flawed concepts and bad philosophy
Right.
that turn us inwardly crazy. If things are made available to us, if things are told to us as they really are, that restores sanity.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't get it more clear than this from Acharya Prashant here. Is something that we must acknowledge, and not just the country but the world also is coming to the fore when it comes to mental health, when it comes to, we have started talking about it. And I would say that yes, Acharya Prashant himself is preaching what he has practiced. And trust me, a lot of you would know about the yesteryears, the earlier days of Acharya Prashant, but for many viewers who would be watching it through Daily Hunt, would love to know it from you, sir, that Prashant Tripathi se Acharya Prashant banne tak ka jo safar tha, how did it came into being? And what was the idea behind it?
It's not as if Prashant Tripathi had an idea to become Acharya Prashant.
Okay.
I wish the idea was there 20, 30 years back so that I could have dismissed it there itself. But sadly for me, there was no such idea. It's been an organic happening. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
So it's not as if one contemplates at one particular time and then executes the idea. That's not the way it happens. Like everybody who lives, I too wanted to make something good out of this one life that I have. So it has been a continuous series of decisions. You could even say daily decisions.
Right.
This is the choice available to me, and this is the direction in which I go. This is the choice available. This is the direction in which I go. So that's how it has been. It's not a role switch. It's not as if you are doing this and then you say, now instead of this I want to do this. It's been a continuous stream. It's just that the stream looks very different when it is in Rishikesh compared to when it is in Kolkata.
Right.
But just because the stream looks different, that does not mean that there are many streams. It's been one continuity.
Absolutely. So in this, a very diverse world and scenario where anything and everything is available at the click of a button now, even buttonless, the mobile phones I'm talking about here, a lot of things, which have been lost in translation or maybe lost in perception, Acharya Prashant ji, is the choice. Because there are so many voices who tell you, you should do this for a better life, you should do this for a better life. At what point and when should and in which position should we be able to make that decision कि जो ये कह रहे हैं वो सही कह रहे हैं, मुझे उस पर अमल तो करके देखना चाहिए, because that also needs a lot of conviction. उन्हें मनाने की जरूरत पड़ती है कि आप ऐसा करके देखें. How do we make that decision?
Decision with respect to whom?
Decision with respect to which side, which path to choose.
You have to first of all listen to what is happening or what is being told, what is in front of you. You have to understand.
Okay.
Trying it out is the next step. How do I enter the laboratory without being versed in theory? So first thing is to understand what is being said from all quarters and all dimensions. The market comes to you with a particular philosophy. The family comes to you saying this is the way you should take now in life. The job market has another set of advice to dole out. You listen to all of them. You listen to all of them, and then a lot of things will be discounted at the listening stage itself.
Right.
Just that you should not feel obliged to follow something because the one who is giving that advice holds a certain authority.
Right.
Irrespective of where the advice is coming from, the advice has to be weighed on its own merit.
Right.
Not on the basis of the grandness of the source it comes from. And when theoretically you have weighed it as much as you can, then you give it a try. And when you are trying something out, you should remember it's an experiment, which means it can fail, which means that it is open to modifications, which means that if you fail, you will try in some other way, which means you are not committing yourself to anything.
Right.
So as young people, it is very, very important to not to commit yourself too early. Actually, I want to say you should never commit yourself to anything, but that would probably be a bit too much for the audience. So to begin with, just remember this: delay commitment as much as you can. The person who is committed to the truth cannot be committed to anything in the world very easily, because nothing in the world is what you are really looking for. No object, no thought, no ideology, no person, no position in the world is what you are really looking for. So if you commit yourself to something, if you tie yourself down in obligations, then that is just bondage and slavery. Do not just say, now I belong to this particular field of profession. Do not say, now I have committed my life to this religious persuasion. Do not say, oh, I am now a right wing or a left wing or somebody, a communist comrade. No. Don't say, oh, now I have committed to this person that I will belong to him or her my entire life. None of that. If you want to be devoted to the truth, avoid devotions of other kinds. Remain experimental. Keep on looking. Keep on seeing what all life has to offer you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Acharya ji, Prashant ji. The thing is, while, listening to it, it might appear to be easy, but if I ask myself that if I keep experimenting with my job, I might or might not be able to make my both ends meet. So a fear factor creeps in. I have read you about when you talk about making our kids fearless. How do we do it and how important it is? Because at several stages, kids need to be fearless.
Most of the fears that we have are thoughts of losing what you have gathered.
Absolutely.
So my advice would be, do not gather stuff that can be lost. Do not have stuff in your mind that calls for too much maintenance or upkeep. At the age of 40, you have to remember, obviously, that time is not on your side. You have one life, and that was not meant to be spent doing the job that you are probably currently doing. But even as you face this thought, you remember that you have a family and you have kids to feed and their school fee has to be deposited and such things. My question is, why must one create obligations when one is in a battlefield? You do not want to fight a battle taking care of dependents. Those dependents could be in the form of other people, or the dependency could be inner. When you are carrying obligations, it will be very, very difficult to lead a life of freedom. I know of, there are so many entrepreneurs in the IIT-D 99 batch, for example. And I talk to them and they say that we prefer to hire married people, and even among married people, we prefer to hire those who are carrying heavy EMIs. I say with such people, the attrition rate is very low. They don't run away. Who are the ones who run away? They say the attrition rate is highest among freshers. These people are free flyers. If they don't like what has happened on one day in the job, the next day they may not show up. But when it comes to a 40-year-old man who has to pay for his car loan, his house loan, and for the college donation of his spoilt brat, this person will stick to the job like Fevicol. He will not run away. And he will tolerate all kinds of nonsense, but he will never run away. My question is, why should you bring yourself to that situation first of all? I hope you're getting the drift. The world will enslave you using your own pleasures and greeds. That which you today take from the world for your pleasure will tomorrow become the chain through which the world will manage a stranglehold over you. So enjoy stuff that is not too dependent on the world. Arts and books and travel and sports, they do not depend too much on the world. The world cannot take them away. But if you are dependent on money for your pleasures, then that can be taken away.
Okay.
Sounds too difficult? It's not difficult when you consider the difficulty that you face if you do not follow this. It's difficult either way. But one side appears easy only because we do not clearly see what lies on the other side.
I would like to ask you, when you were here at IIT-Delhi, were thoughts like these crossing your mind at that time?
All the time. All the time. So, even as I am speaking to you, even as I am looking at the audience, there is something within me that's still busy with itself.
Okay.
So, that's my full-time occupation.
Right.
To see, to question, to not be easily satisfied, to not to stop at cheap answers. And yeah.
Absolutely. Acharya Prashant ji, I mean, I was listening to you earlier also. You mentioned about that hunger, that quest, कि पहले शुरुआत IIT क्वालिफाई करने से करते हैं, फिर बेटर रैंकिंग के लिए करते हैं, then we go on and go forth. That quest doesn't stop. In your opinion, if supposedly we try and stop that quest, that hunger, do you believe it will somehow hamper the way the world is functioning? Curiosity, then solution. How does Adhyatma, how do you basically perceive it to keep the world rolling?
No. It's a very shallow hunger. We do not really want that which will fulfill us. We are only wanting stuff that is easily available in the market and is mass consumed. What kind of hunger is this? This is a very feeble hunger, an imported hunger, a borrowed hunger. The fact is, we are hungry for something else. This feeble hunger, even if it keeps the world rolling, it keeps the world rolling in a very turbulent way, a way of disharmony.
Okay.
I'm not talking of just quitting on the normal kind of hunger. I'm talking of throwing yourself completely, absolutely, fully into the throes of the right kind of hunger. One has to be absolutely hungry. My problem is not that you are hungry. My problem is that your hunger is very feeble. You need to have a much greater hunger. We do not realize, I have repeated that many times in the last hour or so. We seem to forget that there is just one life to live. And if there is one life to live, one has to make the most of it. That is what is referred to as the absolute in spirituality.
Right.
Anything short of the absolute should not satisfy you. You should remain hungry. Instead, we are satisfied with little things like a decent job, dollars, green card, and such things. That's what I am saying is very small compared to what you deserve.
Right. Very quickly, I have two kids. They are both going to school at an early age. The way of life that you have mentioned here, how do we start it at home? What is it that we can give to the kids so that by the time we reach that stage, they are not at that crossroad?
First thing is that we should avoid giving to the kids as much as possible.
Okay.
You see, please understand, I am a person, you are a person, the kid too is a person. Are these persons really in a situation to give that person anything? Forget the roles that society and tradition and religion have accorded you. Society says, as parents, you are gods to the kids. Just forget that for a while. I am a person, the kid too is a person. How am I really superior to that person? Do I really deserve to be that person's mentor or teacher? The little persons, the little man? There is that little man. And just because I am Papa, and society and tradition say, Papa is next to God, I think I am authorized to give the kid a lot. Am I really? I have to ask myself, what is it that really spoils a kid? That which he does not get from the family or that which he gets from the family? This question needs to be asked.
Absolutely. It's a valid question.
We talk of brats, we talk of spoiled young people. And when we look at the world around, we all concur that mostly what we see is caricatures. Right? Do we like the faces of humanity? When you look at a cross-section of people, do you really enjoy looking at their faces and their lives? Do you? I don't. And the fact remains that those people, those faces are products of the family system. They have been nurtured by a father and a mother and a chacha and a tau and a teacher. And they are the ones who brought up this kid to become this caricature. So what is it that spoils a young man? What he gets from the family or what he does not get from the family?
Does not.
So first thing is, be very, very cautious of yourself when you want to teach something to somebody. So
Right.
it has been said, teacher, teach thyself. The parents should first of all educate themselves. In fact, deciding to give birth should be a momentous decision. You should not decide to give birth if you do not very, very clearly see that you are in a position to mentor the kid, to bring up the kid in a healthy way. Instead, we give birth blindly, just biologically. In a moment of carnal pleasure, the kid is conceived. And then the kid is born. And then the kid's fortune is in the hands of two very, very ignorant people who are typically in their late 20s. What do they know? Think of a new mother, think of a father, a first-time father. The mother is 27, the father is maybe 28 or 30. Think of them. Who are they? What do they know? But now the kid's life and destiny is in their hands. Is it not really an injustice to the kid? Please think of it.
Yep.
And the kid cannot do anything because he is totally dependent. Totally dependent. The little child I see as the most exploited segment of humanity because he is totally dependent on very ignorant people. So, if we are parents, we should be very circumspect. We should ask, I'm giving birth to this one. Have I given birth to myself? And now that he is here or she is here, should I not take great care of my inner self? Because whatever I do will have a bearing on the little one. So I have to be as close to perfect as possible. Otherwise, I am betraying my responsibility towards the little one. Absolutely. Am I not?
True. Thank you, Acharya Prashant. Thank you so much. That was insightful. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Acharya Prashant here. Needless to say, there are so many things that go beyond the real, what we see. There's more to it, what meets the eye. Acharya Prashant, thank you so much for your insight, your value addition, and I would say a way of life that mostly remains unseen, but with your company, with your suggestions, and with your, I would say, inputs, definitely it is doable. Thank you so much for speaking to Delhi Hand.
Thank you.